Hakea, a small timber mill that was nestled in the state forest between Dwellingup and Boddington. Its primary purpose was to mill sawn timber from large blackbutt and jarrah trees into building supplies. The sawmill was established in 1924 by the state sawmills but was called Wurruming, and it was located 16 kilometres north of its current location. In 1935 the mill was relocated to the area of which it is today and renamed Hakea. Upon returning home after that trip, we started to plan another trip to Hakea to explore and hopefully find some remnants of a life that my grandparents lived whilst raising my mother and my uncles and aunties. We wanted to isolate a position that our family homes were situated on, and I guess get a better feel of the town of Hakea in general. Unfortunately, it took 18 months to get back to Hakea, but this time not only did we bring my mother, but also my mother's auntie, Dawn, whom also lived on the mill in the 1940s, and my cousin Kim Berishan, of whose father lived in the same home as my mother. This is the first trip to Hakea for Kim Berishan, and the first trip back to Hakea for Dawn since 1947. Hakea is now covered with pine trees, but Stump suggests that this may be the second plantation of pine trees since Hakea was abandoned in 1951. Looking from the air, it is quite clear to see that Hakea has been overgrown with these pine trees, but it is quite evident that the jarrah trees surrounding Hakea form the perimeter of the township. The foundations and the massive sunken pits from the mill itself are still quite visible from above, whereas a look at the mill closer to the ground shows the enormity of the machinery that was placed here around 70 years ago. The pits would have housed the huge saw blades that would have ripped through the large trees soon after they'd been felled. The trenches are a reminder of what was once a thriving southwestern milling operation.
So here was the night watchman, Kim.
Yeah, here's the night watchman, and his role was to make sure that the fire and the steam was produced overnight, ready for the mill to go in the morning. And if it wasn't, it was a problem, because they didn't have power up here. Everything was steam driven. And you'll see a pile of water over there, and that's one of the reasons they would have set up here.
Because they could get that water.
Because they could access to the water.
It was interesting, I couldn't work out the last time I was here, I couldn't work out what all these, why all these trenches were so deep and so big. Was that because they had milling equipment in them and the logs had come and it was all fed from underneath? I haven't seen one like this in total operation, so...
No. One of the reasons is because you didn't have any lifting equipment.
Yeah.
So everything had to be at ground level.
Where they used to, there was a specialised guy that worked in it. And it was something to do with the wood. But also these things here, one of Dad's jobs
lifting all these things out of the ground or not?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
was to go down in the morning and make sure there was no snakes in the pits. So they would have been big saws in there.
Ah, is that what it was? I was just saying to Kim, what were they?
No, they would have been the big saws, you know, the great big big saws.
And that's why they had them...
And that's where they used to run them through.
That's it.
Because these, Dawn, these trenches, these big trenches go all the way, all over here, all the way across. There's quite an extensive amount of them.
Yeah.
This would be for the, I reckon it'd be for the tailings. You know, when you're cutting a tree, you're cutting a probably 6 mil wide blade. And this was one of the first twin saw pits.
That's right.
So they'd have twin saws cut.
Right.
One cutting one way, one cutting the other.
Yeah.
And there used to be a lot of sawdust. So if you couldn't clear the sawdust away,
and there were big sawdust heaps.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Come on over. Mum's got some relics. Flies are annoying her.
You'll feel more flies than anything.
So this mum is the saw pits.
Yeah.
So what Dawn was saying,
You want to take it?
and
Thank you.
what Dawn was saying, what Kim was saying, was they used to run really big saws
That would have been,
through those pits.
that would have been, see this here, that would have been one of the big,
That's asbestos,
bands.
isn't it?
you know, one of the big
Yeah.
rubber, like
Belts.
belts.
Yeah, no, it's like that.
But what fascinated me about this area
Yeah.
was the way they just uprooted, left everything here. Now, you know, with the EPA and all that sort of stuff, just be careful they're doing, with the EPA and all that, you know, you'd have to clear everything out completely, but this is like 50 years, no, sorry, 50, 70 years later,
That's right.
and it's still got relics and bits and pieces and pipe and wires, and
They went from here to the channel.
so down on this flat area here is where these
I
timber
would
would have
say,
stored.
yes, I would say so. See, there's another road over there.
See how all this is quite flat, Kim? Dawn's saying this is probably where all the actual timber was stored.
And look, there's the old sawdust piles.
Ah,
See?
Let's go and have a look.
the old sawdust piles.
So somewhere here, somewhere just here, there's a creek.
Over there.
Yeah.
On the
That's
other
where
side.
that's where they
Yeah.
got their water from, is it?
That's one year we had a storm, we had a big storm, and the creeks were flooded.
Yes, I
flooded,
recall.
And it washed a lot of the sawdust away.
Was that a problem?
Oh, in those days it was.
Why is that?
Well, what was the sawdust used for?
It was just sawdust was attacked from working in the mills. The sawdust was just, you know, when they cut all the timber, it created sawdust.
Yes, but what did they?
They just it was just put in big heaps.
Yeah, but did they use it for anything?
I don't know. I don't.
Oh.
I can't remember that. But I don't think so. I think they used to burn it.
Right. So that's a sawdust heap. Wow. Okay. Or was at some point. Big pile of bricks. And once again, a lot more stuff to show that the houses were here. Concrete, thin concrete plate. Definitely housing here. These are the old ant caps for the stumps of the houses. Some old bottles. Not sure what they had in them. Oh, Dettol. It says Dettol on the bottom. A little piece of crockery. It actually says made in Japan, which is very unusual nowadays. Looks like probably one of the original trees from this area. Very old bridge. Vehicles have not been across this for some time. But it was obviously a track into Hakea from some particular. You can see the track is sort of still here. It's just about overgrown, but there's obviously been extensively used enough to build a bridge across there.
Hakea, a thriving town that time has forgotten, a town that people lived and died within, and many children had spent their younger years within its borders as Hakea was self-sufficient. The town had a school, town hall, tennis court, general store, football oval, and many other essential requirements. So there was very little reason to leave Hakea apart from the fact that Hakea only had one vehicle for the whole town. Yet Hakea will soon be a mere memory, and soon enough people will have no idea that it ever existed at this location. In time, this area will be reclaimed by Mother Nature, and soon enough will look just like the rest of the forest, and Hakea will be no more.